Okay, great. Hey guys, so thanks for joining us today. Before Ben begins, so I will just say quickly that we will be taking your questions, but we'll leave those till the end. We've also got some polls happening, so I'll get those set up for you when the time comes. And I think we're just about right on time now, so I guess I'll leave it up to you, Ben.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I will start by sharing my screen, and Kirsty, can you make sure that we record the session?
Yep, we're already recording. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Let me just share my screen up. So thanks everyone for joining today's session. So today we are going to talk about Google Analytics. We'll go through the main steps from measurement plan to reporting. This session will last a bit less than 1 hour and a half. We try to cover as much as we can. Just before we start, just a quick presentation. So I'm Ben. I'm French, but I'm living in Vietnam. So if you hear crazy sounds, maybe my neighbors or some Vietnamese yelling in the streets. I would try to keep it as quiet as possible. Just in terms of background, I've been working in Marketing We Trust as an analyst for like almost 3 years now. And but I have an IT background. I used to be an engineer, so I always kind of played with data since I started to work. Here you have my details. So if you are too shy to ask questions today, and you can just contact me by email or through LinkedIn. So here is what we will cover today. So we'll start with kind of introduction of the optimization framework and what is the measurement plan. Particularly on this section, I got inspired a lot by the book. You have the source below, which is called the Google Analytics Breakthrough. It's kind of my Bible when it comes to Google Analytics. So I really invite everyone interested in Google Analytics to get this book. And then we'll go through basic concepts and review the main reports in analytics. So I will focus on 3 sections and take the top 4 reports for each of the sections, and then resources. We will not going to cover that today, but you will have access to kind of all the extensions and add-ons that I'm personally using when it comes to analytics. So just as an introduction, here are the top problems that I see with in online analytics. The first one being not knowing what your business objectives are. And this is part of what is required in the measurement plan, because if you can't measure it, or if you don't know what you are trying to achieve, then you can't improve it. Then the second one is errors in the data. This is just a statement, we will have to live with that. There will always be errors in data. The problem is not the error itself, it's the fact that we don't know that there are errors, and that makes you take wrong decisions based on that. So the more you know on how your analytics is set up, on how it's good or it's bad, then you will make and have everything in your hands to make the right decision. Then the third one is kind of resonating with the first. It's like the lack of visibility on return on investment. So there are like really easy configurations that you can make. So you have integrations with AdWords, AdSense, or you could even implement things with your CRM. If you are e-commerce website, it's like really obvious, but you will have to get insight on the revenue you get, so you can calculate your return on investment. And then the fourth one is misinterpretation. And I invite everyone to always train yourself on the tools that you are using, and making sure that every metrics or dimensions that you are using, you are aware of how it's calculated or what it means. Because if you have to work with other people, then you have to make sure that you are talking about the same thing. And it happened so many times with some of my clients where we are just talking about conversions, and then on one hand they think conversion is that, and on my end is that. So make sure that you align the definitions and you know what is you are talking about. So we'll start with the optimization framework and in the measurement plan. But before we get into that, just this quote from Einstein, which is like, not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. And you have to take that in consideration while you are implementing and creating your measurement plan. Don't try to overdo it. Don't try to measure everything that people can do on your website. Just stick to what matters to you. So don't track every click on every button on your website. Just look at what is your bottom line and what are the objectives that you have. When it comes to analytics, we're not just talking about data. We're not just talking about reporting and dashboards. The main objective for you and the main objective of having an analytics system in place is to have business impact. So to improve your website, to improve the conversion, increase your revenue, to reduce costs. And everything that you will do with analytics must have one of these business goals as an impact. So the first layer is the status quo. So the pink layer, the bottom pink layer. This is the current situation. Either you have low confidence in your data, or you are lacking training, or you have missing data, or you don't have a real strategy. So the first thing that you will have to do is come up with a strategy, develop the roadmap, define your business objective, define your KPIs, key performance indicators, your targets, put in place your measurement plan, everything that matters to you, and then assess your current analytics, see, discover what you are missing, what is erroneous, and from that, from the measurement plan and from your current stats, you will know what to implement. So you make sure that you can measure what really matters to you. So here we will be focusing on Google Analytics, since the training is about that, but really it includes any tool that you will be using, any marketing tool. So either you have a tag management system in place so you can go through that, but it can be also native implementation. But then make sure that you have all the tools, AdWords, the pixels, the conversion tags installed so you can measure everything that you need. Then the fourth part would be the reporting. Create the right framework so you can report on everything that matters. Create the dashboards. You have custom reports in analytics. You can create custom alerts. You can have emails sent to everyone in your team. You can create nice dashboards in Data Studio. Make sure you integrate everything and you have the right visualization to serve your data. And then from there, you analyze. And there is no point on having the perfect analytics setup if you don't analyze your data, if you don't check and discover what is working and what is not working. Try to find things that you can optimize on your website. So Google Analytics is only one of the data points for optimization. You could have also user testing, user recording, heat maps. You have a lot of that different data points. This is not the subject today, but we have a training on conversion rate optimization for those who are interested. But from there, you will emit hypothesis on what is working and not working, test it, and then you will optimize your site that will have impact, business impact, that will increase your revenue, that will make the people engage more with your content, that will make people return because your email marketing is working. So through all the presentation, always keep in mind that the analytics is just one layer of everything in the optimization framework. So the first thing that you will need to do is assess your analytics. Before you even start going into your Google Analytics property and you try to analyze everything, question and challenge your current analytics. It's not about pointing fingers on what is not working and what is working. It's more on finding out what is covered, what is uncovered, where are the errors, and questioning and verifying that every of your requirements are covered by your analytics. So so I know that we have several websites that are on different host names. Am I interested in knowing when people are going from one website to the other? If yes, well, is it currently supported by analytics? Yes, no. Do we need? I know that we just released a mobile app. Do we have insights on what people are doing on this app? Most of another example will be with the CRM. Most of the conversion steps are done by the sales teams once the leads is hooked. Can I have insights on how well we are performing, on how well the sales team is performing, but in GA? Do we need an existing roll-up for my boss to be able to see in a single view all the performance of all the websites that we have? So once you have a better idea of what you need and what you have, then you will be able to improve it. And we have a tool. I invite you, if you never assessed your analytics, your Google Analytics account, just give it a try. In a second, it will just run a bit more than 20 tests, and it gives you visibility on, is your analytics account properly set up? Do you have goals? Do you have filters? Do you have a strange behavior when we look at the conversion rate? And then interpret the results. Once you know a bit of what you currently have, you also have to know on what you need, and that's what we call the measurement plan. So there are 3 things to be covered. The first thing to define is your business objective. And for each business objective, you will define metrics and dimensions, and then KPIs and targets. So let's start with the business objectives. What's important to your business? What are you after? What you are trying to achieve with your website? What is your main value proposition? With all the accounts I've been working on, most of the business objectives can be reduced to those 3, which are: I want to increase the revenue, reduce the cost, or improve my client loyalty. You may have more, but those 3 are already covering a lot. And then once you have that, you need to try to find out which metrics and which dimensions are important, and that will enable you to get actionable insights. So from a reporting point of view, I know that I will need the average booking value. And with that, I will know that, well, in average in 2017, we had $70. But the only way to have a better insights on how each of my product is performing, I will need to get the dimension, which is the product type. And with that, I can break down this average booking by tours. And then I know that in average, people are buying a tour in England $100, where in Australia, it's only 30. And the fact that I have this breakdown available and that I can see at that level, I will be able to get to get action, to find out actions that could improve my performance for tours in Australia. For each of your business goals, you will define your KPIs along with a target. So here I took the 3 business objectives that I gave as an example, and I listed metric dimensions and KPIs just to give you an idea. So to increase my revenue, for instance, I know that in my company, we have $5 million revenue per month. That would be my objective, my target, and that's the value that we'll use to compare my current performance against. And then in terms of dimensions, I will need, well, if I'm an e-commerce website that's selling tours, I will need, well, the destination country, so I can see what is interesting people, the type of booking, and in terms of metrics, well, obviously the revenue and transaction. To reduce cost, well, this is more on the marketing activity, but to be able to reduce cost, well, I need to have the cost as a metric, the conversion rate, in terms of dimension. I need to be able to break it down by campaign, by country, and my main KPI and my target will be to reduce the cost of acquisition by 10%. And with improved loyalty, well, the only way I can see how well I'm performing with existing customer is that I can identify an existing customer. So I must have the user type as a dimension, and without it, well, I will not be able to monitor that. So this is just an example of, this is not the real case, but it's just to give you an idea of, by listing every dimensions metrics against your KPI, you will make sure that what you will implement as an analytics is covering all your needs. This is the 6 steps for effectiveness. So the first is the collection. So it's kind of what we covered with the measurement plan. Make sure that in GA, you gather all the data that you need to cover your measurements. Because if you can't measure, well, you can't improve. So make sure you have the basic tracking working, but also some events or insights, more in-depth insights on what people are doing on your site. The aggregate, and I will cover that a bit later when it comes to channels also. It's like, make sure that you are limiting the fragmentation in your data. So could be by grouping with content grouping, or by filtering the right data, or by making sure that your UTMs are properly defined. Then the segmentation, make sure that you have the dimensions and metrics that will make you that will enable you to reclassify the data as you need, so you can compare two different segments. And then the next 3 will be the integration, visualization, and interpretation. Integration, there are very easy integrations that can be done with other Google products. So you have AdWords, AdSense, you have also the console search, but anything that you could integrate, there are also possibilities of integrating CRM data into your Google Analytics. Make sure that you gather in a single place everything that is required for you to monitor. And then the visualization is part of the reporting framework I was talking a bit before. Make sure that you are serving the data in the right way to make it more effective, and just apply the module, which is like, do not repeat yourself. Make sure that you have all the framework that will make you win some time, but it goes, the visualization is great, but it has to go along with the interpretation. Find out why this is happening, or why this is not working or working. The worst thing with data is to have data that is not used for anything. Make sure that thanks to your visualization, you make the best out of it and find out what to test. And then you can do some A/B testing on your site and try to optimize conversions. So this is just like the summary of the optimization framework, just put in another way. Let's start with the strategy. Define your measurement plan. What are your business objectives? Find out the KPIs, dimension metrics that are important to you. At the same time, assess your analytics. Find out what you already cover with your current setup, what is missing, what are the errors. And from that, you will be able to define what to implement. So what new tag do I need? What new events do I need? What integrations are missing? What qualitative tool I need? Do I need to have user testing or any tool? Then the reporting and dashboard, that's the framework that will be enable you to report. And then the analysis step will be make sure that on regular basis you challenge your data and find out ways of improving your website. And then you give that to your CRO team, and they will find GA is only one of the data points, but along with quantitative data and qualitative data from other data points, you will find a way of improving your UX and profitability. So that was just like the introduction on before you even get into analytics. To me, you really have to specify what you need before you implement what matters to you. So here we go through few analytics concepts. from how it's implemented, how it works, and then what is a goal, what is a hit, what is session, what is user. So, well, just to give a bit of context, Google Analytics is an analytics tool that will be that helps you to track performance on your website. But that's not the only analytics tool that exists. That's a good one to understand on how people access your site, what they do on your site, how they convert, make sure that they do what you expect them to do. But there are other tools, a lot of them, and each of them have different objectives. So if you want to monitor apps, for instance, Firebase will be better than Analytics. If you want to have insights on how people are behaving on a particular page, then you can have like heat maps, or depending on the data points that you want, you will use different analytics tools. So how it works? How do we send data to Google Analytics? So the first thing that we have is the piece of code, JavaScript code, that we will have installed in every single page of your website. And what happens is, like, each time the page is loaded, we will load this piece of code, the JavaScript code, and we will send information to Analytics saying this person has seen this page. So that's the most basic thing that you can have. Every time someone is seeing a page, they will receive page view information. If you want to have a bit more insights on users' interaction, you can add other pieces of code that will give you insights on a particular event. Like each time someone is clicking on the video to play it, well, you get an event sent to Analytics. Or could be transaction. Transaction is really important if you have e-commerce website, sending information about the transaction itself, the revenue, but also on the product. So you have all those pieces of code that has to be installed at the right place to be run at the right moment. So that's what we call a tag, basically. We have, so you have tags for Analytics, but you have tags for almost every tool. So tags are not just covering Analytics. And what each tag will do is that they will collect, format the data in the right format, and send it to the right tool. So you can have tags for Analytics, you will have tags for Facebook, you will have tags for AdWords, and we need to implement those tags on different events or in different interactions that the user is doing. So for Analytics, there are two ways of sending the information and implementing those tags. The first one will be what we call the native deployment, what we have on the left. So every single tag will be hard-coded into the HTML code. So for each page, at the right place, when you have like a button, you will have to include in the HTML code of the button that you will need to send this information to Analytics. So every time that we want to implement a new tag, you will need to ask your tech team to implement this tag in this page at that particular moment, make a new release of your website. And on the right side, you have the Google Tag Manager implementation, or any tag management system, where the big difference is you will include in all of the pages what we call the container once, and then this container is containing all of your tags. And every time someone is loading the page, we will search for all the tags that you have defined in your container. So it makes the deployments, and the maintenance of your tags really easy, since you have everything in a single place. So in one single interface, you can see all of the tags that you have implementing on your page, on your sites. You can modify it as you want, and as soon as you publish it, it's live. So it can take a couple of minutes just to implement a new tag, modify a tag, add a conversion tag, remove the Facebook pixel because of GDPR. You can, in a couple of minutes, just impact and change every single tag without having to release a new version of your site. Another good thing is you can debug. So if you see that one conversion pixel is not properly working, well, you can debug in live and figure this out. So this is just an example of what information is sent and when. So I have this website, which is called Great Outdoors Travel Adventures, that is selling tours. When someone is searching for tours, well, my ads in AdWords will pop up in the search result page. The person will click and enter my site. As the script is loaded, I will send the page view to analytics, and the page view will contain, well, where the person was coming from, but it will also contain the page where he landed, the browser that he was using, or the timestamp, that the main information that is coming up with the page view. And then the user is going to watch the video, my yellow tag, and as soon as the user is watching that, I'm implementing an event tag that will send me information on the percentage of the video that the user watched. So in that example, after 20%, I send an event saying he has seen at least a fourth of my video. Then I have also another tag, the purple tag, that will help me measure the engagement of the user to see on how much they have read for that particular page. So I have this tag will be deployed when the user is reaching the bottom of my page. And I will send information to analytics saying, well, he has crawled the page and 100%. And then the most important one, to me at least, is the transaction one. When the person is clicking on book now, and that's the purchase has been done, I will send information to analytics about the revenue, but also about the trip that is about the product that he has bought. This is very important concept of analytics, and it will impact a lot on the scope of the different metrics and dimensions. So just to be, like I was saying at the beginning, you need to make sure that every term that you are using with your teams are that people are agreeing on or understanding on what is behind. So we have in analytics, you will have hit, session, and user. The hit would be basically the user interaction. So it's the smallest item that you can have: the page view, the event, the transaction. Then the session will be all the interactions that the user did in once. So he went on the first page, and then he clicked on there, and then he went on second page, and then he left. It will be a session. And the user, well, that would be the person behind the computer. But from a GA perspective, the user will be just a device and a browser. Then you have dimensions and metrics. I already talked about that during the measurement plan. But just to make it clear, dimensions will be labels that describe your data, where the metrics will be the measurements, the value, the numerical value. Well, to make it easy, like if you are already familiar with the GA interface, your dimensions will be a row where the metrics will be your columns. I put here the link to the Dimensions and Matrix Explorer. That's one of the tools Google Analytics tool that I use a lot. One, it's giving all the definitions for every metrics and dimensions that exist that are available through the API also. But it also gives you which one can be combined, which dimension can be combined with which metrics. Because each of the metrics dimensions will have different scopes. A metric can be a hit metric, can be a session metric, can be a user or product scope. So you have, for instance, at the user level, you will have dimensions such as like the device they were connecting from or the browser. In terms of metrics, you will have the total number of sessions that they've ever had. At the session level, you will have the landing page. Each time, for each session, you will have one landing page. You have the metrics like as bounce rate, the number of page views that you have, the source medium, that will be our UTMs. We'll cover that a bit later. At the hit level will be just like the title, transaction, revenue. So the scope and the scope of the dimensions or metrics are really impacting your report. So especially if you are creating custom reports or exporting it, make sure that you report at the right, that the combination is possible. Here is just an example of all the information that is sent with a page view. So if your Google Analytics setup is like really, really basic and you just have the page view, you already have all of that that is sent. So you have information about the user, the type of browser he had, the computer he had, where he was logged. So in Vietnam, Da Nang, for instance, here, you will have where he was coming from. You will have all the information about where he landed, the page that he has seen. There are loads of events that you could track. Here is just a list of few that I have on some of my clients. Make sure that you don't overdo it. Like we were saying at the beginning, don't track everything that you can track. Just like restrain yourself to what is important to you, and make sure that every event that you track is going to be used. If it's not, I would recommend you just remove it or you don't implement it. So here you have e-commerce. If you are an e-commerce site and you are selling things online, I highly recommend you implement e-commerce, at least enhanced e-commerce if you can. You will be able to have insights on the transactions, but also on the checkout process, for instance. This is a report that we'll cover a bit later in this presentation. Then you have what I call the contact events. It's every event that translates the intention of contacting you. So either it's like a form submission, contact form, inquiries, subscription to a newsletter, or posting in a forum, or it could be just measuring the intention. If you have mail to that integrated in your content, or phone numbers that people can click, or phone call. You have also solutions that enables you to track who is calling you. Then you have, if you are a publisher site or if you have a blog, having insights on how people are engaging with your content would be interesting. So the easiest would be like how much percent of my page has been scrolled, or does this element has been seen, or you could define like act of engagement, so like clicks or scrolls. The videos, if you have, especially if you spend a lot of money on creating a new and nice video, see on how people are engaging, on how much they are ready to spend watching your video. And then you have, if you have like, I don't know, ads integrated in your ads or outbound links to other websites or particular CTA, you could track that. But once again, just track things that matter, or from which you could derive actionable items. Social actions, if you want to track on how many people are sharing, liking, or accessing your profile. From configuration architecture point of view, you have 3 different levels in analytics. The first one is your account. So your account is usually you have an account per business or organization, and then you have what we call properties. So properties will correspond to make it available to a website or group of websites, or mobile app, or any source of data. So here in that example, I have 2 properties. One is my blog, travel blog, and the other one is my e-commerce site. And then for each properties, you will have different views. The views will be the set of data for which all the reports in GDA will be generated. The one I give an example for travel blog are the main view. It will be the one that I use to report on a daily basis. And then the testing view will be, let's say that I want to change or test a new filter or create a new segment. I will be testing there, and even if I messed up with my data, I don't really care. That's my testing view. I can do anything I want. And then the raw view will be really my backup. So this is like really standard implementation. You used to at least 2 one row where you don't filter out anything. This is just the backup. You don't touch it, and then you have your main view. And then on the e-commerce, you could do, let's say that you have different host names. You can have one view that is for all your websites, and then you create one view per language or per TLD. Goals are really important because it will be the only way for you to measure and make sure that people are doing what you are expecting them to do. So here's like Google Analytics goals. You have also e-commerce, which is a part, but there are 4 different goals that are available in analytics that you can do. Make sure that everything that you have in your measurement plan is covered either by e-commerce or by one of the goals that you define. The one I use the most are, I think, the destination and events. But duration and pages per session would be, for instance, for publisher. But I rather have goals that are really measuring active interaction of my users. So destination will be every time someone is seeing a brochure, a PDF, or every time that someone is seeing my thank you page. And the events would be, let's say that I want to see when people are scrolling down to my page. I can generate it. So here is the first poll that we will have. So Kirsty, if you can share the URL with everyone. Try to just answer the question. If you don't know, that's okay. I will explain the answer just after. Kirsty, can you just validate that you shared the URL?
Yeah, so everybody, you should see that in your chat box now.
So you just need to open this URL and then just answer the question. So here we have 2 metrics, which are the bounce rate, and the other one, which is the number of completion for the goal number 1, and 2 dimensions, which are medium and landing page. And I'm just asking everyone, what is the scope of those metrics and dimensions? Is it a user scope, a session, a hit, or a product? I will consider that everyone has answered, or those that didn't, it's because they don't know. So the answer is that's one. So maybe give it 30 seconds. Yeah, so the answer is for those 2 metrics and 2 dimensions, we are talking about sessions scope. So the bounce rate, and so the bounce rate is really related to, we will cover that a bit later, but just to let you know, it's like the number of time you have a session that which is only 1 page view. So basically the user just arrived to your site and left, but it's at the session level. Then the landing page will be the page, the first page that has been seen during the session. the medium would be really direct linked to how the user came for that particular session to your website. So we may have different mediums for each of the sessions. And in terms of goals, goals are defined at a session level. So when we are saying there has been one sign up, is one sign up for one particular session, not a user. We could calculate that at the user level, but in the built-in report of GA, that's a session level. Now we will jump into more into analytics reports. We will cover only three parts of three sections of analytics, which are three important ones: acquisition, behavior, and conversions. Real time is more for debugging. Audience will be more insights on your audience, where they are, gender, the age, based on the features that you have allowed in analytics. And then the customization is where you will define dashboards, your custom reports, the alerts, all of that. But today we will just be focusing on acquisition, behavior, and conversion. So acquisition will be how did user access to your website, where they were coming from, where they coming from organic search, where they're coming from one of my ads in AdWords, where they're coming from another website. And then the behavior is what did the user do in my website, what page he has seen, how long he stayed on those pages, did he bounce, the different events, so the interaction that he had with my content. And then the conversion, so that's where it's really important for you to define the goals or to have e-commerce set up, is did they do what I wanted them to do? Because it's not just having people coming to your site, it's also making sure that they will convert. So we'll start with the acquisition. So I just selected 4 reports here. Sorry, I lost my microphone. I just selected 4 of them, but there are a lot. I invite you to go through all of the reports that you have here. Here it's more for today. It will enable me to cover some of the major concepts from acquisition, which is the channels, channel grouping, and UTMs. So how analytics work is they have what we call the default channel grouping. It's like every time someone is accessing your website, analytics will categorize this particular session into one of the channels that they have. So you have organic search, direct, social, email, referral. And based on this categorization, you will be able to see, well, first on how the traffic is distributed across all the channels, but also on how it converts and how well or how much people are doing on the site based on their source. And why I wanted to tell you here is, like, channels are just aggregated groups of what we call source and medium, and the source and medium are defined by the UTMs. So the UTMs will have a major impact on how good is your tracking, especially if you use only channels. If you are relying on source and medium only, that's okay. But if you are relying on default channel grouping, you kind of have to understand why UTMs and how they impact the way it's categorized. So you have 5 in total, which is source, medium, campaign, term, and content. But the 2 main are source and medium, and campaigns is the third one that will give insights on the campaign. But source will be who is driving the traffic. So which website, or could be Facebook, could be Google, could be my newsletter, is like who is bringing this traffic to my website. And the medium is, well, the medium where the link was. So was it in an email? Was it in an ad, so a CPC? Was it referral? So was it another website? Was it social, organic? And the campaign will be your campaign name. And how how those UTMs are generated is you have two different things. You have UTMs that are auto-generated. So for instance, everything that is coming from organic search will be automatically tagged as organic. For Facebook AdWords, you also have auto-tagging that is in place. So while Google AdWords is because, well, it's a Google product, so everything it has been properly set up. But if you have particular campaigns that are running, if you have like emails campaign, or if you are using other marketing tools, you have to make sure that your UTMs are properly defined. You need to use naming conventions for all the campaigns, across all the campaigns that you have. You have to be consistent. The consistency will be critical here, since based on those UTMs, your traffic will be categorized into one channel or the other. So you have tools, I put the links here. You have the what we call GA URL builder, and you just put the URL and then the different UTMs, and it will generate the right URL. It will append the UTM parameters to your URL. And I also recommend you to record and keep track of all the UTMs that you are being using. So how it will work is like based on your UTMs, analytics will put your traffic in one of these 9 default channel groups. So it will be done in the order. So we start with direct. Is like if you don't have any UTM, we will consider it as direct traffic. So direct could be anyone that is directly typing the URL in their browser, or it could be a bookmark, but it also can be people for which you've lost the trace. So anyone, for instance, you have a link on the website that doesn't have a link on an email that doesn't have any parameter, it will be automatically tagged as direct. Then organic search, that's the auto tagging working here. So anything that is coming from Yahoo, Bing, Google, Baidu will be tagged as UTM medium organic and will end up in organic search. If you are working in countries with very specific search engines, make sure that this traffic is properly tagged. It should be, but make sure there are always like new search engines, so just make sure. And then another example will be email. So as long as your UTM medium is email, it will end up in email. And if it happens that with the UTMs that you have, it doesn't match with any of the rules that they have here, then your traffic will end up in what I call the garbage channel, which is the other one, the other channel. So if just go in your analytics, and if you realize that there is a lot in other, it means that Google Analytics didn't manage to put it in the right channel. So just look there and see if any of your marketing campaign is not ending up tagged as other. This is just an example on how it works. So for instance, if I go on the Google Partner Gallery and I click on the in marketing website link here, you will see that at the end of the URL, I have these 3 UTMs that are append. And since I have the UTM medium referral, it will end up in my channel, which is called referral. My session 2, like the user has searched in marketing we trust on Google. If you click here, the auto tagging will be done, and my UTM source will be Google and my medium organic. And let's say that I've sent you an email. You will see that on the footer, if you click on the in marketing we trust website, you have these UTMs that are put. So anyone that is clicking on the link in my email will end up in email and with the signature as a source. So I know that it's coming from them. So one of the, this is like the reports that most of the people are using, is like giving you an idea of how well each channel is performing against the other. You have insights on the acquisition, so how many sessions arrived in here, on the behavior, on how many people bounce on that, on how many pages they seen in the session, and then you have insights on the conversions. So this is like in one single screen, you have already a lot that is covered. If you click on one of the channel here, you will just open and see what is included in here. And what I was saying before is like the other channel, or if you see that one of your channel has a big spike in traffic, just like review it and see if your UTMs are properly set up. Then this is, I would be quick on this one. This is like a very easiest integration that you can do. It's a single click. If you have already claimed your Search Console in Search Console, the Webmaster tool, you can link it to Analytics, and it will give you insights on keywords, landing pages that came from Google search engine. You will never have full visibility on your keywords. Google doesn't want to give it to us, but it will give you a good idea of what are the main drivers of traffic. The other integration that is also easy, if you are doing campaigns on AdWords, I invite you to the integration with AdWords, with Analytics, and you will be using AdWords to monitor and optimize your campaigns. But what I like with the integration of AdWords in Analytics is, along with the metrics from AdWords, you will see metrics from Analytics, such as that how much they have engaged or the bounce rates. You have Analytics metrics along with AdWords. So you will be able to see which campaign is performing the best, which keyword bring the traffic, but also see the type of landing pages that are not working. Thanks to the bounce rate, you will be able to see, for instance, here I have a bounce rate of 92%, so it means that 9 out of 10 people coming from this campaign are just leaving as soon as they arrive on my site. So it's not much that my site didn't convert, it's like the audience, the people that came through that campaign were not related. So this is the second poll. So I invite everyone to go back to the URL that Kirsty shared before. So here is I put 4 examples of UTMs, and the question is, based on those UTMs, if someone is clicking on the link and accessing to your site with these use UTMs, which one will actually end up tagged as email channel? So I would give you like 2 minutes to answer, and then I will explain. Okay, has everyone answered? Not yet. I'm waiting for your answer, Kirsty, too. Don't be shy. So in that particular, so the answer is the second one. So most of you have right on this one. I would just go through each of the answer and tell you why it's not working. So the first one, the problem is we made the mistake between the source and the medium. So it should have been the opposite. The source will be who sent me that traffic, and the medium is, well, the medium of where the link was included. The second one is, well, the source is correct and the UTM medium is also correct. The third one is not working because that's not the right query parameters. The names are UTM underscore source and UTM underscore medium. But in terms of and even that, the source and the medium were wrong. So the source should have been newsletter and your medium email. The only way for you to end up in the email channel would be to use the UTM medium email. And then the last one is, even though you could name your campaign email, since your UTM medium is not tagged as email, you will not end up in the right channel. Basically, in here, you will be ending in direct. So next part is about behavior. So what did the people do on your website, basically? The 4 reports that I will cover will be on all pages, landing pages, and search terms and top events. Once again, it's not like the only reports that you should be looking at. It's the one that I tend to use a lot. So first we start with a definition of what is a bounce or what is bounce rate. So what I was saying before is a bounce is one single page session. It's like the user arrives on your site and leaves without doing anything. So why do people bounce? The main reason would be when the intention of the user or what they are expecting to get while they're accessing your page is really different from the page purpose. So let's say that the user search for tours in Europe and then end up on a page that propose track shoes. Well, obviously the intention and the purpose are so different that the user would just leave. That's not to me. But if the closer you will get, the lower bounce rate you will have. One thing to note here is for publishers or blog pages, since the only purpose of the page when it comes to content, it's just to deliver the content, people will come to your site, read it, and leave it. And there is not other purpose of just sharing the information. So in that particular cases, you should be adjusting your bounce rate or finding other ways of measuring the engagement. So I put two articles here that are just showing on how we can measure the engagement of users in kind of content, on how to adjust bounce rate. So the first report will be the site content all pages. It will give you visibility on how each page, how many times each page has been seen. So it's kind of your top content. And then you have also the metric page value that will provide you with insights on how much this page has participated in the transactions. Then you have site content landing pages. So here you can see how well each page has performed as an entry point on your website. So if you have different landing pages for your marketing campaigns, then you can compare on how well this one is working against the other. Make sure that you are comparing apples with apples. So don't compare the home page with one blog page, because obviously your home page will have much more sessions that are coming there. The bounce rate might be lower. So compares apples to apples. Use the filter to make sure that you are comparing the same type of pages. Then you have site search. This is such an easy feature to implement, and it's often not used. If you have a site search on your website, you need a minute to implement that. But we will provide you with every search that people are doing on your website. First, it gives you an idea of what the people are after, obviously, since they are doing a search, but also what is missing from some of the pages. Because if you realize that everyone that has seen this blog page is searching for that particular term, then maybe you can integrate the link to that particular page, or you can detect what is missing from your website. It also helps you in case of very high bounce rates bounce rate on your website. You may find out why the intention of the user is really different from what you propose. Then the top events. The top events report will really depend on what was included in your measurement plan. It will be where you find every act of engagement that you decided to track. So it can be the form submissions, it could be the video, how people have interacted with the video, could be enhanced e-commerce in that example. And you could get insights on what has been done and where. But why I wanted to show you that particular report is because events are playing a big role in goals. A lot of the goals that I'm defining are based on events, and you can always rely on those reports to see how much people are doing in the action. Then the last section will be conversion. Here again, I will just cover those 4 reports. We'll be reviewing one big concept, which is the attribution model. Okay, let's start. If you have, so this is only in the case you have e-commerce installed in your analytics. This report will give you insights on the transactions and what kind of products were included in a particular transaction. I just wanted to show you this one, but e-commerce will be appearing in most of the built-in reports in acquisition and behavior reports. Here, one thing to note is that we are talking about transactions, not conversions. So you really have the breakdown by each purchase that has been done. You can have the revenue that has been generating, the number of products that were. If you click, you will see the list of products that was in that cart. You have the amount of tax delivery based on how far you go in your implementation. This report will be if you have enhanced e-commerce implemented, and if you have a booking funnel, obviously, it will give you an idea of how people are going through your funnel and where they are dropping. The cool feature here is by simply clicking on this report, you could generate and create the segment for everyone that dropped off on the payment details page. And then from there, you will be able, since you have the segment, to evaluate and analyze on why they dropped. So sometimes there is no reason, but sometimes it's just because you will realize that your payment booking engine is not properly working on mobile, for instance, or that there has been recently a lot of errors on the last page, or simply that the credit card that the user were using is not supported, or that you have an additional fee that is adding at the last step, for instance. And now we will get into the attribution model. So hold tight here and and be strong. I will try my best to explain it as simple as I can. Here we just start with the concept of attribution. The idea here is to know on who to give the credit for a particular conversion. So in that example, so the same user came five times to my website. The first time it came, it was through an ad that I had on AdWords. The second time he was like browsing the internet and he saw one of my display ads on another website, and he clicked on it and came to my site. The third time, while he remembered my name, so he just typed in the search engine in Google, typed my name and access to the page. Third one, since he liked my page, he saw one of the posts on Facebook and accessed my site through social. And last time, well, since it's been already 4 times that he's come to my site, he already remembered my name and he came through direct. So the question now is, who's getting the credit for that? Is it like thanks to my ad on AdWords that I get the conversion, or is it because of my display campaign? Is it like organic search, since he came the third time with organic search? Or should I give everything to direct, since it was the last one? So that's the idea between attribution. Who do we give the credit for? So there are in total 7 standard attribution models that exist in analytics. You could create the one that you want by using the custom attribution model. But here is the definition of each one. So the first one would be last touch. So we will give credit to the last channel that the user came through. The first touch will be the first time he came to my site. Linear will be I give equal credit to every single channel until the conversion. The position based will be I put more emphasis on the first and on the last one. Time decay will be the closer to the conversion, the more credit that I have. Last AdWords click is the attribution model that AdWords is using, would be the last ads that drove the user to my website. And then the last one is the last non-direct touch, which is the one that Google Analytics is using, would be I give to the last channel, which was not direct. So this is just a definition, but I will give you an example here with the same conversion path that I have. So it came 5 times through 5 different channels. So if I use the last touch attribution model, I will give full credit to direct. If I use the first touch attribution model, I will give it all to paid. If I use linear, I will give 20% to each of the channels, since I have 5 channels. So let's say I have the conversion $100. Each of the channel will get $20. Position based, I will consider only paid and direct, give 50-50. The time decay, well, direct, since it's the last one before the conversion, we get half of the credit. Social only 1/4, organic only 15, display 10, and paid 0, since it's been a long time. And then last AdWords click, we get the whole credit will go to paid. This is really important, and it will explain a lot on why you never have the same number of conversions in AdWords compared to analytics. Because in AdWords, we are focusing only on AdWords clicks. So we don't care about any of the other channels that participated in the conversion. We just give it to the last click. Where in analytics, we will be using the last non-direct touch. And basically here would be So the last one was direct, but we won't take that in consideration, and we will be full credit to social. So the question is, what's the best then? We have like so many, and which one I should be using for my Google for my website. Google Analytics is using the last non-direct click by default. So every single report that you are seeing are using that attribution model, but you could be using any of those. The answer to your question is there is no such thing as the best one. There are some that are easier to interpret than others. And before you go in customizing your own attribution model, I will start with playing around with attribution model. And once you really understand every bit of each attribution model, then you can create your one. So you have in analytics some reports that enables you to play around with the attribution models. So that's what we are going to cover just after. But this is the new poll. It's the last one. So I invite everyone to go back to the page I shared. So this time it's another conversion path. So we have 4 channels that participated in that purchase. So first time it came through paid, second organic search, third email, and last direct. According to GA, default attribution model, who is getting the credit? Okay, last few seconds for you to answer. Which of this channel is getting the credit, full credit, according to GA? So the answer is email. So half of you get the right answer. So Google Analytics is using the non-last click, non-direct last click. So here our last touch was direct. So GA won't take this one into consideration and give everything to email. So then what I was saying just before is you can play with the attribution models in analytics, and for that you have several reports. I will just presenting 2 of them today. The first one would be the assisted conversion report. So here the concept is how many times one particular channel participated in a conversion. So it's not anymore about who I give all credit to this last one or last non-direct one, is how many times it participated in a conversion. So for instance, here I can see that referral has participated in 1,286 conversion, but was, according to the GA attribution model, responsible only for 1,400. And here it will give you an idea of how many times a particular channel helps, is a supportive channel, not a converting one, but a supportive. And things like display or referral or even social could be like really good at supporting conversion, but not responsible for conversion. So you have this metric here, which is like the ratio between assisted and last click or direct conversion, that will provide you with insights on how much it's a participating or a converting channel. So the higher, if you are like, if the value is 1, it means that it has assisted conversion as much as it has been responsible. For instance, here in social, it means that it participates much more. It assists conversion. Sorry, it assists conversions much more than it drive conversions. Here is an easier example where I just take 2 conversions and I have these different paths. So the first conversion is worth $100, and you have 3 channels that participated: paid search, display, and organic search. And the conversion 2, which is $50, and you have those 3 channels. So how your assisted report conversion report will work is, for each channel, it will attribute the number of assisted conversions. So for instance, for display here, we can see that display participated 2 times in a conversion. So we have assisted conversion 2. The value is all the value of my conversions, but it never was responsible for the conversion. It was never the last click of direct conversion. So we have 0 here. The paid search, well, he assisted in the first conversion, but he was the last click for the second one. So we have 1, which is 100, and the other 50. And the ratio will be 1. He is responsible for 1 conversion, but he also participated in 1. And here, just in that particular example, is if we just look at like built-in reports, and we go and we see like at the channel report, for instance, we see that paid and organic are like really good channels since they are driving conversion, and display will never appear. But actually, with the assisted conversion, you may realize that display is participating, is having a big role in the conversion. And most of the conversions that you have on your site are for people that are aware of your brand, that have seen your display campaign running. The other reports that you could be using is the attribution model comparison tool. It's more a tool than a report, but it's, I invite everyone that is interested in attribution model to play around a bit here. And you can compare using different attribution models on how well each channel is getting credit for. So you could, in that example, what I did is I compared the last non-direct click, which is the GA default attribution model, with the first interaction and the time decay. And then it will just give me different point of view on how the conversions, who drove the conversions. So here again, I just did another example using the previous one that I just gave. So 2 conversions, 2 different paths. And in my attribution model comparison tool, I'm comparing the default GA attribution model with first interaction and time decay. So I can see, like, for instance, for organic search, if I use the last non-direct click, it will get 1 conversion, which is the conversion number 1. If we use the first interaction, it will be the conversion 2. And if we use time decay, well, this one will get more credit for conversion 1, and you will get a bit here for the conversion 2. And then for paid search, well, it's really similar to what we will attribute for organic search. Is for the conversion 2, it will be responsible for the conversion if we use the first interaction. he will be the one responsible for conversion one. So by comparing those different attribution models, I can either see which one makes more sense to me, because by default is this one, but maybe the time decay will be more fair to every channels that you have. Or you could also be using that, for instance, I often use that for AdWords to compare. So I will be using the model, attribution model from analytics and compare it with the one from AdWords and see the difference in conversions. And so we're done. I will just go through a few slides on the to conclude. Just let's start with the optimization framework. To me, this is like really important, and never lose track of what are your main objectives. Your main objective is not to talk about data that you have in analytics, even if you really like Google Analytics like me. The objective here is to make your business work better. So increase revenue, reduce cost, improve the loyalty of your users. And the only way of participating in that is making sense out of the data that you are measuring. So define your measurement plan, define objective strategies that you want to implement. Push your tech team to implement all the tags that you need to get insights, proper insights on what people are doing on your website, and make sure that you track the conversions that you need as you require. Then make sure that you have the reporting framework, create dashboards in Data Studio, create the right custom segments, create the right views, create the right custom reports, your alerts, make sure that everyone in the team is aware of what's happening on the website, and analyze that. It's not just sharing the data, but make sure that you analyze it and give ideas on how we could potentially improve your website, or what are the things that are working or not working. And then in collaboration with the CRO team, you may put in place some A/B testing and optimize your website to get business impact. So this is the reports we've been through. But just before we go for 5 minutes question, just remind that data will be nothing without you. So Google Analytics is just, I love it. It's a perfect tool, but without someone analyzing and playing around, you won't make the best out of it. So make sure that before you jump into it, you know what you are looking for. You don't know on how many times I've been lost in Google Analytics, and I spent hours just going around. But just make sure that you know where you are going and what you are looking for. Try to always find things that will have impacts on your website. When you are in GA, you can't break it. I mean, you could break it if you are implementing tracking, but if you are just accessing the reports, you can't break it. So just go there, play around, and the more you play with it, the more confident you will feel with the tool, and the more you will get out of it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben. So I'm sure some of you have questions now. So to ask, you just need to raise a hand. So to do that, just click on the participants button at the bottom of your screen, and then clicking to raise your hand over on the right. Or of course, you can just put in your question in the chat box and we'll get back to you. So I think the first question is from G, who wanted to know what the title of the book was that you talked about right at the start.
Yeah, so I put the name in the presentation. It's just here on the slide 3. So it's called Google Analytics Breakthrough. I bought it, I think it was released like in October or November last year. It's really complete. It goes through all the reports. I didn't write it, but I wish I I did. To me, it's one of the most complete. You have also case studies. You have interviews of people. You have a review of all the reports. You have also explanations on how to implement things. This is certainly one of the most complete that I could find.
Okay, I think we've got another question as well from Kirsty. So as people use more and more blockers, such as Ghostery, do these reduce results in analytics?
You mean ad blockers?
Yeah.
Well, if so, yeah, it could have potentially impact, because on ad blockers you can't block anything that you want. Any JavaScript, you could be blocking it. It will have impact on your metrics, number of sessions you get, or things like this. But at the end of the day, like I was saying at the beginning, is like you will always have errors in your data. You will always be missing people. You will always have things that are being blocked. I don't think that you will have so many ad blockers. I mean, so many people using ad blockers that will you will not get enough data in analytics. Just take into consideration when you are going through your data in analytics that always compare with something. So use the segments, compare it, how well it's performing, compared to that channel, compared to that user type. Make sure you put in perspective and don't just use absolute numbers. But then if you have a big drop in your traffic at a particular date because someone just blocked, you will realize it really fast. But from an experience, it's not an issue to me. You are missing them, but that's okay.
Yeah, they also would like to know if all search engines are included. For example, like startpage.com with enhanced privacy.
So I don't have the whole list. I don't think they have provided it, but it's really easy to verify. So you just need to go in analytics and go in your organic search channel and see if the traffic from there is being tagged properly. So I can just, actually I have analytics here, I can just show you. So if you go in traffic and you want to make sure that it's tagged as the right channel. So this is like a demo analytics account. Just click on organic search, and you will see you will have the source medium. So just take the source, and you will see if in organic search you have your search engine as a source. Or the other way you could do it is go in the report source medium, find out the website the search engine you were talking about, and making sure, so add a secondary dimension that you will be your channel grouping, and make sure that that search engine / organic is ending in the right one. And if it doesn't, you could create a custom channel grouping.
Okay, I think that was the last of our questions. But you know, guys, if you do come up with any other questions you want to ask Ben later on, you can follow up with him through email. Just send an email to benoit@emarketingwetrust.com.au, or just reply to the email that's sent you here. So as Ben mentioned early on in the webinar, we also have a CRO course on the 26th of July. And if you missed yesterday's webinar on Google Data Studio, we will be holding another course on this on the 18th of July as well. So just send us an email and we'll get you signed up for those if you like. So thanks so much for joining today, and hopefully we'll see you at our next webinar as well.
Thanks everyone.